Hello guys and welcome back. Today we will be going over how to decode the guitar fretboard using the circle of fourths. Now the circle of fourths only makes sense once you realize that the guitar is tuned naturally in fourths. So in standard tuning, when you move from the low E string to the A string, that's a fourth. From the A to the D is a fourth. From the D to the G is a fourth. And from the B to the E is a fourth. Now, do notice that I skipped the G to B strings, as those are actually tuned to a major third. So as we move through this lesson, you'll notice that we reference that outlier quite a bit. So now you might be asking yourself, what is a fourth? Well, put simply, it is an interval of 5 half steps. If you're not a complete beginner, you probably have heard or know something about the circle of fifths. We'll get into that in a later lesson. For now, let's look at the circle of fourths and how it relates to the Nandy method. This method is based on using the primary naturally occurring interval pattern on the guitar, which is the fourth. You'll see how this pattern can be applied to decode the fretboard in a logical manner. You'll also find that this approach will be perfectly in sync with the logic of the fretboard. Let's take a look at the circle of fourths. So here you will see all of the notes in between the two C octaves, which correspond to the 12 intervals that are arranged in fourths. You can think of this circle of fourths as a circle of fifths inverted, as fourths are simply inversions of fifths. So let's see how this fourth pattern applies to the guitar. So when we look at this fourth pattern on the guitar, we can see that the notes run horizontally across the strings on 2 consecutive frets in almost a linear fashion from the lowest E to the highest E string. Now, because almost all of the notes are arranged in fourths across the strings, our use of the fourth pattern is both practical and extremely effective. Now, we always find that mnemonic devices are helpful in remembering this order of fourths. So take a look at this mnemonic device that we like to use for the natural order of fourths from B to F. There are plenty of benefits of learning to count in fourths, in which you'll see almost immediate results. I wanted to go over a few of those so you guys can get an idea of why we count in fourths. For starters, you'll be able to easily name notes and intervals across any fret on the guitar in relatively shorter time, especially when compared to the traditional way of memorizing their locations, which takes many years to master. Number 2, you can use any note and number in this pattern to locate other notes, which are 2, 3, or 4 strings away, by simply skipping notes in the pattern. For example, if you're on a note on the low E string and you skip a string, you can find a 7th or a whole step down. If you skip 2 strings, you can locate a 3rd. If you skip 3 strings, you can find a 5th. And so on and so on. As you'll see in some later lessons, there are other interval patterns that are embedded in the fourth pattern. Now moving on to number 3, you will be able to instantly recall notes in any major key along with sharps by counting in fourths. We'll go over this in a later lesson as well. Number 4, chord progressions based on fourths are commonly used in jazz, such as the 2-5-1 progression. And finally, number 5, chordal harmony based on fourths is also used in jazz. If you're a jazz guitarist, we're sure that you'll find this fourth pattern recognition very helpful. All right, guys, there you have it. Please make sure to subscribe and check out all of the other videos on our channel. Check out the Nandy Method website, pick up Guitar Intervals Unleashed on Amazon, as well as the Nandy Quarter, which I will have a link to in the description.